Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is August 12th. On this day in 2013, Tiffany Daniels finished her shift at work early and told her boss she needed a few days off. She went to her home in Pensacola, then drove off and was never seen again. 8 days later, her car was found abandoned near the beach, and what was inside raised more questions than answers. In the years since, her disappearance has baffled investigators, devastated her family, and sparked theories ranging from accident to human trafficking. Today, we're talking about the disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. Let's get started. Tiffany Heaven Daniels was born on March 11, 1988 in Dallas, Texas, to Rod and Cindy Daniels. Tiffany was one of three girls, and when she was in elementary school, the family moved to Pensacola, Florida, where she spent most of her life. From an early age, Tiffany stood out, not just for her bright blue eyes and her dazzling smile, but for her boundless curiosity and her independent streak. She loved to explore, whether that meant riding her bike across town, heading out on a spontaneous camping trip, or spending long afternoons sketching and painting. She poured her energy into the arts, painting vivid, nature-inspired canvases and even selling some pieces locally. Tiffany also loved the outdoors. Paddleboarding, hiking, and beach walks were regular parts of her life. By 2013, Tiffany was working as a theater technician at Pensacola State College, where she helped build and paint sets. Her coworkers admired her work ethic and her creativity, and she enjoyed the hands-on nature of her job. That year, she shared a small rental house with Gary Nichols, a 54-year-old man who was the father of one of her friends. Gary was going through a divorce and needed a place to stay. While her parents thought the arrangement was unusual, they trusted Tiffany's judgment, and they were happy that she had a roommate who they were pretty confident would pay his share of the bills. Though most things were going well, Tiffany's life wasn't without challenges. Money was tight, and she was also beginning to navigate a long-distance relationship with her boyfriend who had just moved to Austin, Texas. But Tiffany approached each day with optimism. Whether barefoot on the beach or working on a painting late into the night, she seemed determined to live life on her own terms. Monday, August 12, 2013, started just like any other workday for Tiffany Daniels, at least on the surface. That morning, she clocked in at Pensacola State College's theater department, where classes were about ready to resume for the fall semester. She usually worked until about 5, but asked her supervisor if she could take off a few minutes early. She also said that she needed the next few days off because she had things she needed to do. Her supervisor said that would be fine, and Tiffany left at 4:43 p.m. After work, Tiffany stopped back by her house, but Gary was on a long call with his girlfriend, so they didn't talk. Tiffany left, and when she didn't come home that evening, Gary tried calling her cell phone around 10 p.m. She didn't answer. After nobody could get in touch with her for a few days, Gary called her mother, and her mother ended up reporting her missing. Then, on August 20th, 8 days after she was last seen, Tiffany's Toyota 4Runner was found. It was parked in a lot at the entrance to Fort Pickens, a historic fort on the western tip of Santa Rosa Island. Inside, police found her purse, wallet, cell phone, and a jug of water, but no sign of Tiffany. Investigators pulled nearby surveillance footage and found a concrete timestamp. A bridge camera had recorded Tiffany's license plate crossing the Pensacola Bay Bridge at 7:51 p.m. on August 12th, the day she was last seen. What wasn't clear, though, was whether or not the car had been at Fort Pickens since then. Neighbors across from the lot said that the car definitely was not there 2 days earlier, suggesting that someone came and parked it later. Crime scene techs lifted 2 unidentified fingerprints, one from the door and one from the steering wheel, that didn't match anyone close to the case. With the car recovered and the beach searches turning up nothing, the ocean and dunes were scoured without a trace. The case pivoted. Tiffany's boyfriend was confirmed to have been out of state and fully cooperative. Her roommate Gary was also looked into and interviewed extensively, but no evidence tied him to foul play either. The early hopes of a voluntary break or a tragic accident felt less convincing now. If the SUV was moved days later, someone else likely drove it there. And Tiffany was still missing. In the weeks after Tiffany's SUV was found, hope came in fragments. Tips were called in, many with possible sightings. One stood out. A waitress in Metairie, Louisiana, roughly 3 hours west of Pensacola, reported seeing a young woman matching Tiffany's description. A group came in that was made up of an older woman, possibly Latina, and 2 younger women, one also possibly Latina and one white. The older woman did all the talking, and according to the waitress, the younger white woman was silent and wouldn't make eye contact. Both of the younger women also wore long sleeves pulled over their hands despite it being a hot day. She believed that the younger white woman was Tiffany. Police took the tip seriously. Metairie wasn't just some random place on the map. It was a known hub in the I-10 human trafficking corridor, a route where young women could disappear into the shadows within hours. Tiffany Daniels and volunteers quickly circulated flyers in the area, but ultimately nothing concrete came of it. Other theories developed closer to home. Some wondered if Tiffany had simply walked into the waters off Fort Pickens and drowned. But dive teams and cadaver dogs turned up nothing, and the strong tides and shifting sands would likely have washed some trace of her ashore. By the end of 2013, no suspects had been named. The leads dwindled and the case grew colder by the month. But Cindy refused to give up. She worked with Missing in America and appeared in national media interviews, telling Tiffany's story over and over again. Each retelling was a plea, not just for answers, but for people to remember that her daughter's life didn't just stop one summer night in Pensacola. Now, more than a decade has passed since Tiffany Daniels vanished, but the case is far from forgotten, especially in Pensacola. Her mother, Cindy, has spent every year since 2013 searching, organizing searches, and working with nonprofit groups dedicated to finding missing persons. The 10-year anniversary in August 2023 brought renewed attention to the case. Local outlets like WEAR-TV and the Pensacola News-Journal revisited Tiffany's story, interviewing Cindy and sharing the composite sketches from early tips, including the possible Metairie sighting. Cindy told reporters, quote, "The most difficult part is not knowing. Not knowing if she's out there and can be found, or if I need to bring her home to rest," end quote. To this day, there is no confirmed evidence of foul play. There have been no recovered remains and no confirmed sightings. But for Cindy Daniels, hope remains alive. She continues to advocate for her daughter and for other missing persons, knowing that sometimes, even years later, answers do come. We covered Tiffany's disappearance on And Then They Were Gone, and so if you'd like to hear more of Tiffany's story, you can find the link to that episode in our show notes. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found Tiffany's story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It'll help us grow. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!